right, guys, welcome back here to Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you. Obviously, we've had about 24 hours now to let the NLCS marinate here, as of course the Mets losing to the Los Angeles Dodgers 10-5 in Game 6. And that sets up what's going to be a very interesting World Series, a very compelling World Series between the Dodgers and the New York Yankees. We'll get into more of that in just a moment, but just to kind of reflect here just a little bit about the season here that the Mets just had. And I'm going to have a separate video at some point down the road here talking about the offseason because it's going to be a big offseason here for the New York Mets upcoming. But this was a year that really nobody saw coming, right? We all thought this was going to be a rebuilding year, a year where we would see maybe some of the young players stand up, like a Luis Angel Acuna or a Mark Vientos. Maybe it would be a year where the team would struggle. They didn't appear on paper at the start of the year to have a lot of strong starting pitching. It looked like it was going to be a transition year. Some people called it a punt year. And instead, this team, despite all the odds and despite all the things that happened to them throughout the year, the 0-5 start, 11 games under 500 in May, getting their teeth kicked in the first game of the London series and embarrassed in that first game with Bryce Harper sliding in soccer goalie style after hitting a home run. And for them to come back each and every time out and find ways to win was incredible. From June 1st onward, this team had the best record in baseball, better than the Dodgers, better than the Yankees, better than the Guardians, better than anybody in baseball, better than the Phillies, who at one point this year looked like they would be destined for a number one seed and maybe the best record in the league this year. The Mets were the best team from June 1st onward. And how did this all come about? I mean, that's kind of the debate. Was it the day that Jorge Lopez threw his glove into the stands and garbled and tried to mumble, saying that the Mets were the worst team that he had been on, or was asked the wrong question, or however that went? Was it because of Francisco Lindor grabbing the bull by the horns, taking that leadership role, and having that team only meeting? That's probably where it really got started. Maybe that trip to London, I think, had a big part of it as well. And then, of course, we all know about, from the fan standpoint, Grimace, OMG, Jose Iglesias having a huge impact not just on the clubhouse with that song, but on the entire fan base. It galvanized everything that was about the Mets. And all of a sudden, it was the year of vibes, right? It was the year where everything was good, and this team, again, found ways to win, found ways to get themselves into the hearts of Met fans and become the DNA of this fan base, which is a very gritty, blue-collar fan base to begin with. And it was one of the best seasons the Mets have ever had in a very long time. And when you think about this franchise, I think they've only been to the playoffs, 11 times all time in their 63 years history. This was one of the most memorable seasons, and it's only the start of something. It's only the start of something, folks, because this team, the way it's constructed from the top down, I mentioned in my Jets video very briefly, because we take a look at the Jets, they're a mess right now, right? Top to bottom, this is an organization that's run incredibly well. Steve Cohen, his wife Alexa Cohen, going all the way to David Stearns, then to Carlos Mendoza, all the people up and down the front office, and then through players. And even Mendoza mentioned in his press conference after the game saying that what hurts most of all about losing this game is the great people they have in the organization. And yes, losing this game does hurt. And losing a Game 6 of the NLCS when you had an opportunity to possibly go to a World Series and maybe even face the Yankees and upset the Yankees in a World Series, to not have that opportunity now does hurt. But it doesn't diminish what this team accomplished all season long. Again, Lindor probably in my mind should be the MVP of the National League. I know they're probably going to give it to Ohtani, but this guy was a leader in the clubhouse. He was a leader on the field. He led by example and had big clutch hits and big moments like the grand slam against Atlanta, the big home run against Toronto in August. He had big moments all the time, did Lindor. The home run against the Phillies in the game that ended up knocking the Phillies out of the playoffs. Pete Alonso, we're going to talk a lot about him in the next coming weeks because he's a free agent. Everyone ragged on this guy because he didn't have the great statistical year, right? Hey, here's Pete Alonso, free agent year. Is he going to have a big season with a high batting average and a ton of home runs and RBIs? He didn't have that. He had an okay season, but everyone ragged on him going into the playoffs because he was off to a slow start in the wild card series. What does he do in Game 3? Hits the 3-run homer. That proves to be the difference in that game and proves and gets the Mets to the next round in the division series. It's those kind of moments that stood out for the Mets this year. Seeing someone like David Peterson become a solid number 3, number 4 starter in this league, winning 10 games for this Mets team. Seeing Sean Manaea go back to kind of his Oakland days when he was an ace in that staff and he was an ace on this staff. He did a great job. He's a free agent. We'll love to see the Mets bring him back at some point this offseason going towards next year. But there are so many guys out there that I didn't mention, like the Harrison Baders, the Starling Martes, the Jesse Winkers. All these guys had huge impacts in this team. Brandon Nimmo, of course, a huge catalyst, a huge emotional rod for this team. This is a team that Met fans are going to remember for a very, very long time. The unfortunate thing, again, is that they didn't have that opportunity to win the World Series, but even with that, they won because they won the city over. They won because the people in this city believed that this team could do something special every single night. As the season wore on from June, and you started to see all these things happen on social media with all the things that are going on with the singing and the light shows that are going on Citi Field, people got more and more curious. People started tuning in more and more, and by August they became must-see TV, and certainly by September everyone was glued to what the Mets were doing in 2024. So to me, this season was an incredible success, an incredible statement of how this organization has come really far under Steve Cohen's leadership when he bought this team about 4 or 5 years ago now. Hard to believe. And he has done an incredible job finding the right people, the right baseball people, and really the right just general people, good people, to be a part of this team. And hopefully that continues moving forward. I did hear something that was interesting. Another thing from one of the post-game shows is that everyone pretty much is in agreement that this is a team that is on the rise, and the Mets have to take advantage of that. We'll see what they're able to do this offseason. It's going to be a very busy offseason for them, and we'll see how they reload and come back and, see how they can contend. Now the expectation is going to be, can this team go from being the darlings of the playoffs to being the bully of the playoffs in 2025 and beyond? We'll have to see how that all pans out. But other than that, what an incredible job by these New York Mets in 2024. As far as the World Series is concerned, it's going to be a good matchup. My goodness, did Juan Soto earn his paycheck the other day when he hit that 3-run home run for the Yankees that got them to the World Series? My goodness, this is another player who's going to be a free agent to be in Juan Soto. And all the debate that we've been hearing for months, really for years, would he stay with the Yankees? Will he go with the Mets? Will he go to the Dodgers? Will he go to the Phillies? After that home run, if the Yankees do not pay Juan Soto whatever it takes, $700 million, $800 million, whatever, it's crazy, I know that. That's shame on them, shame on Hal Steinbrenner if they let him walk. They have to re-sign Juan Soto after that home run, whether they win the World Series this next week or not. He is a valuable piece of the puzzle and a valuable piece of Yankee history now after hitting that home run. It's going to be an interesting series because neither team really, maybe the Yankees have a slight edge in the starting pitching department because the Dodgers have so many injuries in starting pitching, but I'm really curious to see how the pitching does against these two lineups. These are two very deep lineups. Of course, the Dodgers play more lethal 1 through 9 as far as the ability to spray the ball and not go for the home run, and the ability to get singles and doubles and have effective at bats and hits. Yankees are kind of a team that likes to slug and hit the home run a lot. It's incredible matchups. Of course, you got Judge, Ohtani, the two big stars leading the way. I mentioned Soto. Giancarlo Stanton had a MVP of the ALCS. What a postseason he has had. 4 home runs for the Yankees in the playoffs in that series. He's going to be a big part of this. It'll be fascinating to see how this layoff affects both teams. Will this affect both teams to the point where they drop off a little bit? Having been so hot going in, does this layoff hurt them or does it help them? It might help the pitchers, but does it have an effect on the hitters going forward? So it's going to be a fun World Series between those two teams, between the Yankees and the Dodgers. It'll be the 12th time all-time. These two franchises have met, of course, going back to the days when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn. And you had that huge rivalry in the 40s and the 50s between the Yankees and the Dodgers. And the last time these two teams met in this stage, you have to go back to 1981. So every generation seems like has had this Dodgers Yankees series in the World Series. Now finally we get it. Our generation gets it. The millennials, the Gen Zers, they finally get to see what Yankees Dodgers looks like in the World Series here in 2024. So, folks, like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts below. What did you think about that Mets season? What do you think about the World Series? We'll talk to you later.